All right, I'm going to try the accent tag once again. The last time I did it, my allergies were really bad and I kept clearing my throat and it was a little bit difficult to speak. I don't know that this time will be much better, but we'll give it a shot. I'm doing the accent tag, and as it states in the title, I am from Missouri. I was born and raised here. I grew up in rural Missouri, and for much of my life, I had the typical backwoods Missouri country accent. But it changed once I started working in the field of broadcasting. I worked as a radio announcer from age 17 to age 28. And of course, during that time period, I had to learn how to speak like an announcer. I never went to broadcasting school, but whether you go to broadcasting school or whether you just simply work in the industry, in the communications industry, there's a certain dialect that they expect you to adopt. They expect you to speak correct English. And most of it's common sense. Examples would be they don't want you to say, I'm going for a drive. They want you to say, I'm going for a drive. You want to say mountain and not mountain, or carton and not carton. Just little things like that. They may not seem like such a big deal, but when you listen to the radio and you hear a DJ or newscaster, sports announcer, or maybe even a commercial playing on the radio, and the person doesn't pronounce these words or other phrases and words correctly, you'll notice because it'll sort of jump out at you. And so, for that reason, they want you to be able to speak properly. There's sort of a general American newscaster dialect, you might say, is what they call it. So, if you ever listen to newscasters talk, no matter what part of the country that they're from, they all pretty much sound the same. There are a few exceptions in certain parts of the country, but for the most part, every newscaster sounds the same. They have a certain speech pattern that they're expected to adopt and to live by. And of course, I was no different. So over the course of time, I've lost my Missouri accent, if Missourians even have an accent, which I know that we do. It's especially thick if you live in southern Missouri, which I sort of grew up in, I guess, east central Missouri. So I didn't have much of a southern accent, more of a Midwestern drawl at the time. But I've lost that over the course of my life. And so a lot of people often ask me where I'm from because they just can't believe I'm from Missouri. So I thought I would give you that tidbit of information before I start the accent tag. Now, this accent tag begins with pronouncing a few words, and here they are: ant, roof, route, wash, oil, theater, iron, salmon, caramel, fire, water, shore, data, ruin, crayon, New Orleans, pecan, both, again, probably, spitting image, Alabama, lawyer, coupon, mayonnaise, syrup, pajamas, caught, naturally, aluminum, and envelope. And now there are 10 questions. The first question is, what is it called when you throw toilet paper on a house? Well, I must admit I never did that in my lifetime, but I know some people who have, and they call it toilet papering or TPing. What is the bug that when you touch it, it curls into a ball? To be honest, I never even heard of such a bug until I started watching all these different accent tags from around the country and around the world. And the most common name that I'm hearing is roly poly. So that's what I will call it, a roly poly. What is the bubbly carbonated drink called? I call it soda. When I was younger, I pronounced it sody. A lot of people in Missouri still pronounce it that way, sody. I don't know why, because there's no IE on the end of that word. There is an A, but go figure. What do you call gym shoes? Tennis shoes. What do you say to address a group of people? I just say hi or hello. I probably said hi everyone whenever I was younger. I don't ever remember saying hey y'all. That's more common in southern Missouri and in basically the entire South. What do you call the kind of spider or spider-like creature that has an oval-shaped body and extremely long legs? When I was little, we always called them granddaddies. But from watching the accent tags, the most common name seems to be either Daddy Longleg or Granddaddy Longleg. What do you call your grandparents? I only had 2 grandparents that were alive. The other 2 died before I was born. But when they were alive, I called them Grandma and Grandpa. Just the standard, typical name, I guess, for grandparents. What do you call the wheeled contraption in which you carry groceries at the supermarket? I call it a grocery cart or a cart. I know a lot of people call it a buggy. I don't really know many people that call it that, but I know that once you get into southern Missouri and the rest of the South, that's the common name for it, a buggy. What do you call it when rain falls when the sun is shining? To be honest, the first thought that comes to my mind is rainbow. After all, if you look up in the sky when the sun's shining and it's raining, chances are that's what you're going to see. But apparently that's not the correct term. Apparently it's got some other kind of meaning. And from watching the different accent tags, there's been a few different words or phrases to reference that, but the most common one, I wouldn't say most common, but the most strange one, you might say, that I found on these different accent tags is from mostly in the southern part of the U.S., they say the devil's beating his wife. Where that came from, I have no idea. Maybe someone from the South can tell me if you want to comment on this video and let me know. And finally, what is the thing you change the TV channel with? I call it the remote. Some people say remote control, some say clicker, although I don't really know anybody that says clicker, but I know that's a common word for it in the South. Seems like in the South they have different words for everything, but that's just the way it is. Okay, the last thing I'm supposed to do is choose a passage from a book and read it. Well, I found a short story on the internet that I'm going to go ahead and read to you instead. And I'm going to read it in my typical newscaster voice, because that's how I'm used to reading things, even though I haven't worked in radio in over 20 years. And I'm going to try to do this without having to clear my throat more than once and without stumbling. So, wish me luck. Here we go. Well, here's a story for you. Sarah Perry was a veterinary nurse who had been working daily at an old zoo in a deserted district of the territory, so she was very happy to start a new job at a superb private practice in North Square near the Duke Street Tower. That area was much nearer for her and more to her liking. Even so, on her first morning, she felt stressed. She ate a bowl of porridge, checked herself in the mirror, and washed her face in a hurry. Then she put on a plain yellow dress and a fleece jacket, picked up her kit, and headed for work. When she got there was a woman with a goose waiting for her. The woman gave Sarah an official letter from the vet. The letter implied that the animal could be suffering from a rare form of foot and mouth disease, which was surprising, because normally you would only expect to see it in a dog or a goat. Sarah was sentimental, so this made her feel sorry for the beautiful bird. Before long, that itchy goose began to strut around the office like a lunatic, which made an unsanitary mess. The goose's owner, Mary Harrison, kept calling, "Kama, Kama," which Sarah thought was an odd choice for a name. Kama was strong and huge, so it would take some force to trap her, but Sarah had a different idea. First, she tried gently stroking the goose's lower back with her palm, then singing a tune to her. Finally, she administered ether. Her efforts were not futile. In no time, the goose began to tire, so Sarah was able to hold on to Kama and give her a relaxing bath. Once Sarah had managed to bathe the goose, she wiped her off with a cloth and laid her on her right side. Then Sarah confirmed the vet's diagnosis. Almost immediately, she remembered an effective treatment that required her to measure out a lot of medicine. Sarah warned that the cost of this treatment might be expensive, either 5 or 6 times the cost of penicillin. I can't imagine paying so much, but Mrs. Harrison, a millionaire lawyer, thought it was a fair price for a cure. Yeah, I stumbled a couple of times, but I'm sure you understood what I said, what I read, and I hope you enjoyed my accent tag. Thank you for watching.